Have you ever noticed how easy it is to start something and how hard it is to finish it? In the beginning, everything feels exciting. You feel powerful, motivated, ready to change your life. You promise yourself that this time will be different. This time you won't quit. But slowly days pass. Life gets busy. Your energy fades. And without realizing it, you stop. Not because you failed, but because you waited to feel motivated again. Today's story is not about talent or luck or perfect timing. It's about discipline. The quiet strength that changes ordinary people into extraordinary ones. And the person in this story is not special. He's just like you. In a small town near Sacramento, lived a man named Daniel Brooks. Daniel was 35 years old and worked as a night security guard at a warehouse. His job was simple and repetitive. Every night he walked the same halls, checked the same doors, watched the same camera screens, and drank the same cheap coffee to stay awake. It wasn't a bad job, but it wasn't the life he dreamed of either. Deep inside, Daniel wanted to be a writer. Not a famous one, not a rich one. He just wanted to tell stories that helped people feel understood. He had notebooks full of ideas, half-written stories, powerful opening lines, and unfinished endings. But there was one problem. Daniel never finished anything. Every time he tried to take writing seriously, something stopped him. Some nights he felt too tired. Other nights he told himself he wasn't inspired enough. Sometimes he said he needed better ideas, more time, or the right mood. Weeks passed, then months, then years. His dream never disappeared, but it became quieter and quieter, like a voice he kept choosing not to hear. One quiet night, during his shift, Daniel noticed an older man sitting outside the warehouse gate. The man looked calm, holding a small thermos in his hands. Daniel walked over and asked if he was okay. The man smiled and said he was waiting for his son, who worked inside. They talked for a few minutes about small things, about the weather and work. Then the man asked a simple question that caught Daniel off guard. "Do you enjoy your job?" Daniel smiled politely and said, "It pays the bills." The man nodded and asked again, "What do you enjoy doing?" Daniel hesitated, then quietly said, "I like writing, but I never finish anything." The man listened carefully and then said something Daniel would never forget. "You don't have a motivation problem," he said. "You have a discipline problem. Inspiration comes and goes. Discipline stays." Those words stayed with Daniel long after the man left. The next morning, Daniel didn't make a big plan. He didn't promise to change his whole life. He made one small promise to himself. He decided to write 300 words every day. Not a perfect story, not a good story, just 300 honest words. No excuses. He wrote it on a small note and stuck it to his desk. The first day was painful. Daniel stared at the blank screen, feeling tired and empty. His mind searched for excuses. He wanted to check his phone, to sleep, to do anything else. But he forced himself to type. The words were messy and unclear, but when he reached 300 words, he stopped. Something strange happened. He didn't feel excited or proud. He felt calm. For the first time in a long time, he had kept a promise to himself. The days continued. Some days were easy. Some days were heavy. Daniel wrote when he felt inspired, and he wrote when he felt nothing at all. He wrote after long night shifts, and on mornings when his eyes burned from lack of sleep. There was no music, no motivation videos, no perfect environment. Just discipline. After a few weeks, something changed. Daniel stopped asking himself whether he felt like writing. He simply did it. It became automatic, like brushing his teeth or tying his shoes. He began posting short stories online. At first, no one noticed. No likes, no comments, nothing. The old Daniel would have stopped, but this time he didn't. Because discipline doesn't depend on results. It depends on commitment. One night, after a terrible shift at work, Daniel came home exhausted. His manager had shouted at him. His body hurt. His mind felt heavy. He sat on his bed staring at the screen, and a voice whispered, "Skip today. One day won't matter." Daniel looked at the note on his desk. 300 words. He sighed and began typing. That night, tears fell onto the keyboard, not because the story was sad, but because he realized something important. He was becoming someone who keeps promises to himself. 3 months later, Daniel finished his first complete short story. It wasn't perfect, but it was finished. He stared at the final sentence for a long time, then smiled quietly. He didn't celebrate loudly. He simply felt proud in a deep, calm way. He kept going. One finished story became 2, then 5, then 10. Writing was no longer just a dream. It was part of who he was. One evening, Daniel received an email from a small online magazine. They wanted to publish one of his stories and offered to pay him $150. It wasn't much, but to Daniel, it felt like everything. Someone believed in his work. Success didn't make life easier. New pressure appeared. Deadlines, criticism, rejection. One editor told him his writing was average. Doubt returned, and Daniel skipped a few writing days. But then he remembered something important. Motivation never saved him before. Discipline did. He sat down and wrote again. 1 year later, Daniel's life looked different. He had published many stories, started a small blog, and taught writing workshops on weekends. He still worked as a security guard, but only part-time. And every single day, he still wrote 300 words. Not because he felt inspired, but because discipline had become his identity. People often asked Daniel how he changed his life. He always answered the same way. "I stopped waiting to feel ready," he said. Discipline is not punishment. It's self-respect. So if you're watching this and thinking, "I always quit," remember this story. You don't need more motivation. You don't need perfect conditions. You need to show up, especially on the days you don't want to. Start small. Stay consistent. Let discipline change you quietly from the inside out.